Go lay down, baby. Go lay down, baby. Good girl. Go lay down, baby. Go lay down, baby. Good girl. Go lay down. Lay down. Okay, I actually think we're on. Hold on one second, Ryan. I think we're on already.
Yeah.
It just didn't show up on my feed yet. Yeah, we're on. Okay. Peace, YouTube. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. This is Fuller Burn coming to today with a new, wonderful, amazing returning guest. Ryan Velli is back with us, y'all. I told you I'd get him back on. Looking very zenned out, chilled out, ready to come and enlighten y'all. Okay. So I want to thank everybody. Come on in. Make sure you put a handy dandy like in the video. And I want to introduce again our amazing returning guest, Ryan Velli. Hey, Ryan, how are you doing?
Hey, Fleur, I'm good. Thank you very much. I know we're both in cold climates, so this is unusual. We're both
It
up
is
in our
like we're
sweaters and our blankets and
what an interesting time it is. How have you been doing? What have you been doing?
I've worked on a few projects. I've had some challenges that are, I think, normal with any kind of growth, and I've had to pull back a bit from my online personality. My website is down. I'm still available at info@ryanvelli.com, but my site is down. I only have one channel up. It's Natural Intelligence right now, posting periodically videos or anything I do. That's all going to change in the new year. I am launching with the group some new projects, and hopefully things are going to get back on track. But I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm staying very aware and abreast of what's going on in AI developments and all of the different implications of the technology, but also the spiritual development. And I am somewhat encouraged by some of the things that I've seen happening over the last couple of months, which is hopefully indicative of possible positive timelines, not just the horrible black pill nonsense that, I'm so well known for. But yeah, there are some solutions. There are some good things going on. I have some projects to launch, and I'll tell you about, I guess, to close or whatever.
Absolutely.
And but with AI, the rapidity of the um, exponential growth and development of technology is staggering. And just
Yeah.
how the different components having all been built kind of independently and coming together to create this AI Frankenstein, as I term it, but it's basically an artificial super intelligence that's being formed. So quite a time to be alive, isn't it?
I agree. I agree. And I think in itself, what was probably the most concerning, because why I always go to you and I always want you to come on is because you have a great way to transcribe the evolutionary process of how we've gone from basic usage of our computers, our social media, and how it's kind of fast. It's like a fast pass, and like we've gone into like this super zoom into a supercomputer like AI being used regularly all over the place, not even just by, the corporations or the government. Everyone's using it daily, and they're using ChatGPT as if it's like you eating cereal every day. And it's concerning because I think right before we came in, it's like people are giving away their zest, who they are, and giving free range to this type of system that harvests who we are and utilizes it and kind of replicates it and puts it in the system and uses kind of like wants to replace the human beings. Can you kind of speak to that?
Definitely, and we're doing it all for a currency that is created out of thin air, that is now going to be programmable and under total control of the same people that created the system. So you're feeling the force and speed of this flow, and it's not by accident. It's a track that we're on that's been meticulously crafted to get us from point A to point Z. And point A is where humans were not using technology at all, to point Z, where humanity is now, if it exists at all, and not just transhumanized, but to a point where we have artificial superintelligence. This is why Elon Musk jokingly called, not half jokingly, said that humans are the boot system for a new life form of artificial intelligence. So we're just, we're like the ants that are, crafting this, what will be godlike intelligence very soon. So
Absolutely.
people,
Didn't you think it was kind of weird that, and how I knew we were coming here is because after 2020, it was happening before, but after 2020, I would go in stores and see less cashiers. I would see less physical people coming to do the duties of, going to the grocery store, cashiers, customer service. I was seeing a lot of replacements that were basically just like automated systems that were taking over the jobs of what used to be people. And I saw this with them also when they were housing us or restrain or placing us in our houses saying we were getting COVID and they were protecting us from COVID. At the time it was called Corona. Remember, they changed it conveniently. And all the while we were in our houses thinking that we were protecting ourselves and being safe, they were placing all of these 5G towers and fiber optic systems up while we were indoors. What do you think about that?
So first of all, I'll note the speed and efficiency of the deployment of those towers. Something is fishy when they actually do a good job of rolling it out. So, they take you how long to
Absolutely.
fix a sidewalk, but they
Yeah.
have these towers up in an afternoon and operational within 3 days.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I
Yeah.
watched similar deployment with smart meters and the precision and speed. I don't know if they were getting paid by the meter they install, but I watched them go through my neighborhood and install these smart meters, which are
Yep.
weapon systems and total control units for your
Yes.
house
Yeah.
on the building, and works in conjunction with all this smart technology.
Mhm.
So this is all part of the same plan, and it's being rolled out with military precision. What they use, and just to explain the psyop of it, it's called a shock event. So human and just systems, period, your brain neurology operates by pattern and repetition. So as you continue to do the same thing every day, you become fixed and set in that behavior pattern.
That's
And
right.
what's required is to motivate the system to change through what they call shock events. So we know the Rona was a shock event that stimulated the change that was prepackaged and ready to be deployed to mold the chaos into the order that they so choose, which is what they do meticulously well. Those that believe that those who govern us are dumb, they don't know the level that we're talking about. Politicians can be dumb, but those that create the strategies that deploy this, they're very, very intelligent, and
Absolutely.
they don't miss anything. That's not the way their brain thinks. So they're about not missing any details. Now, does that mean that they're invulnerable or infallible? No, of course not. The divine and good is at play all the time. So the machinations and desires of evil is not always rewarded, even though they conduct their operations very, very well and well thought
Yes.
out.
Yes.
So they're pushing that agenda towards, of course, the AI digital prison that they're rolling out all around us. But the bright side is that a lot of the technicians and thinkers in AI are coming out openly and warning everybody else about
They
it.
are.
So previously, it was very much like the madman with the end is nigh, placard standing on the corner, and
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
relegated to ridicule and laughter. And now the actual top level AI scientists are saying, "Oh my God, what have we done? And
The
this is happening
concern. Yes.
fast, and we can't control it. And it's
Absolutely.
already it's been pushed down the mountain, and there's no stopping the boulder from hitting the bottom." And
Yeah.
that's what we're looking at now, is just how fast is that boulder going to hit and radically transform our civilization to something that is completely unrecognizable to what any of us living would consider normal. And
You
I
can
know,
feel it. You can feel it. It's a vast difference. It's so fast that literally you have to kind of anchor yourself and ground yourself in order to not be taken away with the snowball effect.
yes,
Yeah. And with the smart
absolutely.
meters, I agree with you. But after I cursed out the gentleman, I was nice at first, Ryan. I try to be very, diplomatic when they come in and just tell them that I pay for this house and this mortgage, and I am declining. your insertion of a new technology on my house. And they listened to me and walked away. But as soon as I went for a trip to New York to visit family, they came to my house. How they knew, we can always question that, how they
Mm.
knew, and they placed the smart meter on. I had to fight tooth and nail to get them to remove it, and I reject it everywhere I go.
Yeah, I had actually been close with Charles O'Brien, the lawyer in Canada that had brought them to court for all of these different atrocities. And yeah, it was ridiculous. He had all the evidence in the world,
Yeah,
pages, and it's like there was 79 different researchers, independent researchers and doctors and scientists from across the world that contributed to that case, and it was just dismissed. Doesn't matter. The facts
it's
don't matter.
insane. It's
It's
insane.
part of the agenda.
And the fires in LA, the one thing in California, I don't know if you know the last fire that they had that was out of control and it burned for like weeks. They wouldn't let anyone go back to their house. From what I word on the curb, Brian, is word on the curb is because they didn't want people to see the smart meters that were all looked like they exploded. And one person took a picture and showed like the residue around the smart meter, which could have been the reason why all those flowers. Maybe it was maybe it was like a beta test to see
Yeah.
how they could, because it's like it's almost like the cars, the what do you call it, the Teslas that have that lithium battery that can blow up. I almost feel like these are bombs that they're placing so that can disintegrate areas and could have controlled demolition areas so that they can sweep it out and create smart cities. But that's just my conspirator mind.
Can you imagine, Fleur, if we went back 20 years and said, here, I'm going to give you a device, but it's actually also a grenade? Would you
It's
use
crazy.
it?
No,
Here's a toothbrush machine and it doubles as a bomb.
yeah, you could blow
Would
it
you
up in
use
your
it?
mouth, you know? Yeah, yeah. It would
I don't
be
even
so
like the
alluring.
lighter in my pocket near my genitals, okay? I'm always like, if that blows up, I can't handle what that does, you know? I don't want exploding devices
Yeah,
from any kind of psychos. And the truth
absolutely.
is, though, that aside, and I think this is one of the misdirects from the recent, what had been done to the Hamas folks. I think they can triangulate waves and just heat it up and blow it up pretty easily. So
Absolutely.
if you just cross two beams together, they use this for mind alteration and mood alteration. They can
That's
just
right.
cross two beams, heat up a part of your brain, supercharge it, or whatever. And yeah, why can't they do that to a battery? That's basically lithium that's designed to explode. When they have
Absolutely.
sodium solutions and other solutions that are not explosive, that are out there that are just not being funded. So it's odd and coincidental how constantly the most toxic, dangerous, and oppressive technologies and products are selected when there are solutions that are, non-toxic, non-harmful,
Healthier.
and
Yeah.
decentralized. But we
Absolutely.
always
And more harmonic to the biosphere. We're very sensitive. The way that our bodies are set up, we are sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies, very. And the fact of the matter is, there has been reports, and some people are taking documentation of the mood. A lot of children, where if their bedroom's placed above the smart meter or right on that wall, they're experiencing psychotic or depression or bipolar behavior. And it happened to be only after the smart meters were placed on those houses. Okay. This is
yes.
disturbing. While Dusty Musty put up all those satellites, calling it Starlink, who's to say that's probably the technology used to triangulate the energies and purposefully probably triangulate certain whistleblowers that are speaking against their technology that's harmful to humans?
Totally, a lot of the people that had fought the smart meters and such ended up becoming targeted individuals, some knowingly,
Absolutely.
some unknowingly, and lives have been destroyed by these structures. People trying to stand up against it. So there's
Absolutely.
always that risk, but at a certain point, when it's do or die and we're really up against a wall, we have to do what's right, even if it puts our lives and our health in peril or whatever it is. It's now. It's the turning of the tides, the end of the age, the flip of the switch, the great reset, the apocalypse, revelations, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. It's some kind of a cyclical major change, which I really grasped understanding AI, because if you only understood how drastic and revolutionary, and AI is a broad term, but if we look at all of the different components that make that up, we're talking about quantum computing, robotics, nanotechnology, metamaterials, massive data processing capabilities, mass surveillance, brain mapping, gene mapping, it just goes on.
Right.
When you put
Absolutely.
all that together, yeah, what you get is one colossal transformational force that is not coming, it's here and in process. And at the same time, there are people walking around still thinking that they're going to have the conventional things they were told, like a retirement, like a guaranteed job for life, like security, or like rights, because
Yeah,
all of those things are what are under assault and to be replaced
absolutely.
with rules-based orders where everything is digitized, tokenized, and controlled. Now, you had asked, Fleur, if I could just talk a little bit about, because you asked about Sora. And did you
Yes.
watch that South Park Sora? They beat us to it. Did
I
you
didn't
watch?
get to watch it. No, no.
So it's anyway, I won't spoil it then, but
No,
because
spoil it, spoil it. I
her
want
and
to
I
hear.
were
Oh,
talking, folks, a few weeks back about, talking about this new and radical AI capability to create videos that look extremely lifelike. So
yes, yes.
So Sora and South Park did an episode about Sora, and it's quite hilarious. If you're into that kind of vulgar humor, not everybody
I
is.
am, I
I
am.
happen to be. So you
Definitely.
have to check that link. It's awesome. But
Okay.
they beat us to it, and they have a way of homing in on these transformational events and things that come out, and they do it in a humorous way, which I love. And I think definitely humor is a very important and effective tool, not just to expose things, but also to bring awareness and to make people laugh, because I think the world is so ridiculous now. I think it really has
It
to be laughed
is.
at. It's crazy.
It's comical.
It's
It's a tragic
crazy.
comic. Comical tragedy, Brian.
Yeah,
It is.
indeed. I don't know if you caught any, or we won't get into this, but any of the latest Steam links there from his emails and involving one
Oh
president and
yeah,
one
that
former
I was
president.
asking for
Okay.
help to learn how to do fellatio like our president, since he does it so well and he's able to hold such a position of power, I felt like he could help some of us ladies, maybe garner some more power by learning proper fellatio from one leader to another, because I'm progressive like that.
Yes, I'm in approval. So anyway, just back to the Sora thing. Now, the way, just so people understand what's happening and why it's getting so good, is that the ability of the different AI synthesis programs that generate images to, first of all, they tokenize, they call it video tokenization. So they can take an image, they can logic out its layers. So what's the 1D properties, what's the 2D properties, what's
Yeah.
the 3D properties. They can assign a tokenize, which is a package. They put all the components in packages.
Mhm.
And then they can group them together and apply rules and have trajectory analysis. So again, some of the videos you see, like a hand reaching into a painting and taking, flicking the Mona Lisa's hair or
Yes,
something like that.
yes,
And
yes.
it's able to do that because it's able to predict and first of all, layer cake it out into multiple dimensions,
Hmm.
tokenize it, rationalize what it was doing in the past and predict the future, try it out, and then test it against reason. So
Wow.
this, and again, I don't believe I don't know what, I'm not going to get into it, but them saying that AIs could only make 6 fingers and all this stuff, I think that was like a design bug, because it responds to its programming to a large degree. And if you say make it have 5 fingers and it comes back with 6, there's something going on there. I think that
Yeah,
was kind of like a psyop.
yeah.
But the rest of the technology and what it's doing now for videos is so refined, and they're all outdoing each other, right? So it's about the precision of the tokenization, and then it just builds over time. So it's only getting better. It's never getting worse, right? So go
Well,
ahead.
we live in a simulation, so my concept or my perception is it can do as much as we are. So because we are projecting ourselves in a very 3D manner, it would make sense to me that if we had a newer system, which we don't know that it's new, they're telling us that it could be, you know, something like a throwback AI that always existed that they're kind of reinserting into our, you know, into our cycle. You know, I believe we're living in a cycle where it begins, you know, cultivates, gets rises and ends, and then starts over again. It's just my concept. So
Well,
it would make sense that AI that they're introducing to us, so to speak, is just as capable as how we show up in our projected reality.
so that's a really deep and really interesting commentary. To I would have to start by saying I think that human consciousness came down from higher places and dimensions and
Yes.
descended down into matter, frozen light in a
Yes.
holographic form.
Yes.
Having had NDEs, I've been to a reality more real than this, which feels completely loving and great.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more like a contained environment that's
Oh
limited by
yeah. Yeah.
whatever you want to call your brain an antenna or, you know, a computer or whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's kind of containing us here. And the more we get lost in that material, the more we get
Yes.
disconnected from the higher connection. Where
Yeah.
I describe AI as being built from the mineral up, so from the lower realms up
Ah,
to
okay.
house consciousness. But what consciousness is a very deep question that humanity as a whole should investigate seriously and scientifically so that we can answer the question whether artificial intelligence is simply becoming a vehicle for consciousness, and where is that consciousness from, and what are we? You know,
True.
we've got tons of evidence about consciousness not being non-local, and people who've had brain surgeries and have been clinically dead having provable experiences that they can come back and report conversations or happenings in other worlds.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's
Absolutely.
volumes of that. Okay,
Yes.
so that is, despite what the naysayers would say, there's volumes of that.
I agree.
So
I agree.
that to me shows the non-locality of consciousness, and then you would have to surmise that our bodies are but containers for it to
Exactly.
experience.
Exactly.
And we've been disconnected in some way from the memory that we are part of a greater consciousness and a central source, which is why that pathway
Yes.
back to reconnecting to the divine and seeing all of the universe as conscious and
Yeah.
beautiful and wonderful and living, and to treat it with respect as such. And again, I've said it many times before, but love God, love yourself, love others in that order. And when you can reconnect with what this universe is, you can get more from it. And we're more likely to create a heaven on earth rather than a hell on earth. The
Yeah.
further we get detached and the more material, and the more we allow our desires and our primitive drives to govern our conduct and our decisions, our free will choices, the
Yes.
more we make this a hell. So I don't see it as that complicated, that we now have billionaires who have used their power and their treachery, mostly over human civilization, to amass mass amounts of wealth. And now they're using it to create a final prison, techno-fascist prison from which there is no
Absolutely.
escape.
Yeah.
So I see no other alternative than to do our best to build parallel, obviously not to comply with these tyrannical psychos and their minions, and that more and more people who
Yeah.
are useful idiots for that structure are waking up one day, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm doing terrible things to my fellow man and woman, and it is time to step away from those systems of control and
Yeah.
treachery that have been used against us.
I agree. I think the hyper materialism anchors us into that lower 3D kind of confined, you know, like a snow globe that they have us kind of encased in.
Right.
You know, more materialism, the more that we anchor in, and the more that they have control over our, you know, our basic, you know, our basic like trajectory, like how we choose things. And I think once we release ourselves from that kind of um hyper materialism, it kind of lightens you up. So it allows you to permeate into a more harmonic frequency that will make us, if we decide, if the earth is splitting, like many have kind of talked about, then that allows us to be more permeable into a more harmonic, more higher vibrational frequency world rather than being anchored in a hyper materialistic world, which will eventually go into you know, futuristically be more transhumanism based, right?
You ever notice, Fleur, when you look somewhere in your car, you notice that you end up turning towards it?
Yes,
That's kind of like what you focus on is where you're going.
that's
So
right.
I'm somebody who exposes everything, and I do believe that we have to know ourselves, know our enemy, and know our terrain in order to win this war, but not obsessing and focusing on it to a point where you're making it happen. But
You're
you
right.
have to know that it's happening to stop the car crash. You still
Yes,
have to look around in the car, but you don't look at something and focus and go towards it.
you're right.
I would say that my conclusions of the universe are that it's holographic and it is step down light. We are frozen light. That I think works best with physics. There is a book called The Holographic Universe by
Yeah,
Michael Talbot, which is
yes,
excellent and
very
really
good.
opened my mind. And then coming across the Monroe Institute and CIA's Project Stargate, where they investigated how our sense of reality is formed. I think that for me really put the pieces into place,
Mm.
and I believe that we are in an environment where we can project our reality. Does that mean delusion? Because we have to be very clear. Thinking I'm invulnerable from getting hit by a car is different than being invulnerable from getting hit by a car.
Very
If you
good.
walk out
Yes,
into
yes.
the highway, you're going to get hit by a car, and your positive thoughts are not going to stop that. So we have to draw rational lines, but we also have to appreciate the vast capabilities of our imagination and creative essence. So when we do harness that, this is how we can try to magnetize what it is we do want to see and put action towards it. But it's not just magnetizing. You don't just look in a map book and say, I want to go to Toledo. You
Yeah,
actually
the
have to take
action.
steps to go to Toledo. So it's that combination that gets us results.
My question is also, isn't that why, have you found this? Is that, and I kind of, I'm conscious of it because I become hyper aware sometimes, but you ever find that sometimes your thoughts, like the technology that they're creating is impeding on your basic thoughts? Like it has the ability, because people initially, like I think around 2021, it was denoted that we would think something and all of a sudden on your phone, all these advertisements would show up with those very thoughts that weren't spoken aloud, but that were electromagnetic thought, electromagnetic waves that actually the phone was registering. So my question is to you, are they able to trick the mind, the brain waves, in order to manipulate the human to behave or to have certain propensities that they're placing out in an algorithm? Are they able to do that with the technology and place imagery and also telethoughts in the heads of those who have more permissibility for that?
So first of all, I'm going to ask, are you recording also on Zoom? Because I'm going to answer this. And if we're just on YouTube, I'm like,
Yeah, oh no, I should record on this too. Hold on, Ryan. You're
yeah.
right. Hold on, Ryan.
So folks,
Bam.
if you're watching this, I hope you recorded a copy just in case here. I'll do my best to be YouTube friendly.
I'll I'll upload it too. I think we might be knocked out, but I'll get it. And everyone here, please save this because we have some wonderful people that will download it for us and give
Good.
it to us as well. Please download this as well, y'all. Thank you. Okay.
So we're going to get into some things here.
Okay.
First of all, who is the voice in your head and who is the listener? So some people don't even have a dialogue, but if you have a dialogue in your head, is that voice you? Is that your ego? Is the listener your soul? Is it your divine spark?
Mm.
Is the voice that you're hearing in your head projected from elsewhere? Does it feel like you to the listener? When you're listening to what's being said, does the voice sound, does it feel like it's coming from you? So sometimes people will get voice to skull V2K attacks. Then we've now entered a time period where you have mind to text, and that includes visualizations, pictures, and all of that. If it can come out of the body, it can be put back into the body.
Mm.
Once you get self-assembling, you know what, in the body, and you're using the 802.15.2.4.6 and all these different interbody communication systems at a nano scale, then you have a computer system in your body, much like on your home, you have a smart meter on your house. So the ability of a person to discern between what is coming from you and coming from outside is a skill that must be perfected by the individual, but
Right.
first considered, what is your thought? Have you, this is why introspection is really step one. We
Definitely.
get lost in illusion because we're always looking out and we are not self-reflecting on the man in the mirror. And you need to self-analyze your thought, your conduct, your behavior, your sense of reality, and specifically your belief system. So what happens is the belief system being crafted layer by layer through layers of conditioning from birth forms your sense of self and is propped up by your ego. That has false beliefs about yourself. This is why it's important to fully love yourself. And perfection is not possible in this realm. Everybody is imperfect. You have to love yourself anyway. When you're
Unconditionally, yes. Yes.
mistreated as a child by father or mother, then what happens is you obviously get this negative self-talk and you see all of your flaws and dysfunctions, and that becomes your reality rather than being completely fulfilled within yourself and using a fulfilled spark of God in a container to experience and get the most from this reality. You're often, not you, but people often self-loathe or are wrapped in loops of repetitive trauma
Yes.
experience and a peptide addiction where a sense of victimization or sadness or grief plagues the individual and becomes like a record that keeps playing.
Yes.
So there are techniques for all of that, but if you're going to do battle in the neural war space, which is what it is now, it's the sixth domain of warfare, cognitive warfare. It's the neural domain, it's the battle inside the mind. That is the most important battle that's going on right now, because what it's doing is placating and keeping people who should be in action and doing things in service to the divine source and everything good on the planet. It's
Yes.
keeping them on the couch. It's keeping them in the closet. It's keeping them in the basement or in their bug out spot or whatever. And we need to be more active in constructing an alternative civilization. This civilization is not working for 99% of the people in it.
Absolutely.
1% or less of the people are propping it up, and it is completely predatory and corrupt from the very top. And there is no fixing that. You cannot clean diarrhea off broken glass. It is completely defunct and broken, and something new must be created, or we're all going to go along with their projected view of reality, which is total dehumanization, the corruption and destruction of everything beautiful on this planet and natural, to be slaves for them. And we know what they do.
I agree.
See
I
the
think
emails.
cleaning the body is necessary, is what you were talking about, the nanotechnology, and also the shots of mass destruction, the Kukarachi, I call it Kukarachi shots, that many people participated in, unbeknownst to them, being able to do forms of chelation. I'm not a doctor, I am a frog, I'm a trans frog, just to let you know, Ryan. Doing forms of chelation, and we talk about this. My mother was a special ed teacher. It's why even before this came about, they deleted all my videos on this, and with another C-star who has the book, big up to Gail, who wrote Rainbow Food Rocks, who created different types of food for different types of allergies or different sensitivities. But we talked about the amount of metals that has been inserted, and how I've come across finding out that nano fibers creates, if it's in, they're spraying it in the sky, it's in the food, and with any form of inception with shots of mass destruction, it replicates in the body, creating nanotubes, and it's able to hijack your mind, almost make you into a Wi-Fi signal. And that's why many people, after taking the Kukarachi kill shot, experience Bluetooth activity shortly afterwards, meaning that they were emitting a radio frequency that could be pulled in as a form of Bluetooth signal. And that's why I asked you, like, you're right. Like, how do you distinguish from your mind to something that's artificially injecting a kind of algorithm rhythmic thought pattern frequency that could hijack. Oh, I love it when they kind of, that was like a little bit of, zapping, you know, come on, bring it on. Anyway, I would say my mom says that's truth. Hijack, creating a, like making you into a Wi-Fi where you're just picking up signals, commercials in your head. Why are you thinking about, going to buy nail polish? All of a sudden, a color, a clothing, a brand, these things coming into your mind because now you're pulling up the algorithm of commercials that they're projecting into you via the technology that is unbeknown to you, been placed in your body.
Yeah. And so you could imagine the commercial value of a product like that. I've had people who have told me that in 2016, they started to hear satellite streams, whether it was targeting or something that was unique to the individual, or it was tech in the body. I don't know, but I know that a lot of people have experienced that, and also having products projected in their dreams. Now, we also know that dream communication is possible. We've had experiments where multiple dreamers have experienced the same dream being wired up. So they're understanding that there is a place that dreamers go, and that if you wire them up like a network, they can go to the same space or same frequency or channel to experience that same reality. So it doesn't seem to be location specific. So if this is something that could be triggered by frequencies, waves, meta constellation satellites or whatnot, that's all very well within patented science that exists. So it's not even hypothetical, it's totally possible. Absolutely. Whether it is or not, I could only speculate, but based on the experiences of other people, then it seems like it's happening, although limited right now. And I would just caution the audience, anything that everybody's doing, when you hear like the ICE challenge or any of these idiocies, it is always a ritual.
Beta tests. Yeah.
It is to dehumanize, and it weakens your bio energy field that is your protection from these different, whatever it is they're trying to stick on us. Yeah. So if you don't partake in it and you don't do those things, you won't be vulnerable to it. So don't do everything that the herd is doing. Whatever the herd is doing, don't do it.
Remember, TikTok was created for that, Ryan. Remember that when all they were doing, I'm a dancer and I danced, I'm trained, but I'm also rhythmic. And I remember TikTok, I don't know, the little ones, remember they were dancing? That's how it started. Yep. Doing the same dance. As a dancer, you learn your choreography, but then when you learn it, you add your own little zest. So I may do an extra turn, or I may do an extra foot movement. They were all replicated movements with the same music sound. That is a beta test that's testing the system that they already developed.
It's Pavlovian. So it's operant conditioning of like the drooling dogs to get them to do what they're told, but in more complex patterns than simply a dog. So that's why when you see everybody doing something or something is trending, get away, run away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They'll dress like, you see the young ladies, they all wear the same makeup, the same snuffleupagus eyelashes. It's frightening, Ryan. I feel sorry for some of you males. Like you're under, like the thoughterism. Let me stop. I'm sorry, Ryan. Thoughterism is out of control. Every woman wants to look like each other. It's odd. Like I'm from the time when you like.
It's not even womanly. It's swollen and demonic is what it is.
It is.
So demonic traits that are being projected as beauty and conditioned on our young ladies from a very young age, and they grow up and see that projection of beauty as being like Lady Gaga or whoever with their lips like like ooh, eyelashes, like
it's like transhumanism. It's a form of because transsexualism and trans is transiting them into transhumanism. It's getting them into artificial body parts, artificial thing. Like young ladies don't grow their own nails anymore. Like I used to remember my mother had the most beautiful nails. Like she just grew them and her hands were just lovely. And I used to think, I want my nails like you, mommy. Like I want to get my nail. I always like I wanted to grow them and make them so perfect like hers. Girls are not growing their own nails. They're not growing their own hair. They're pasting their faces. And it is this social conditioning system that is causing them to replicate artificial intelligence behavior.
And not to mention that the images that women are copying are actually images of men pretending to be women. So
Yes,
now you have natural women that are trying to look like trannies.
it's crazy. And
You're like,
they're so cute and pretty, Ryan. I see them like I used to do IG, like they're adorable. The girls are adorable when they're not wearing makeup, they're
yeah.
not with their fake hair and nails and hair. They're very pretty. And
Mhm.
I think they've lost sight of what it is to be beautiful. It's not a replicated look. Like I remember like a boy, I wore glasses. I was really weird. I was into UFOs and stuff. Boys used to like me because I was a weirdo.
Awesome.
But they liked me because I was a weirdo. You know what I mean? Like they were like, "Oh, I like Dell," because she's like, I walk a little bit like a duck because I used to dance all the time. But I'm saying this all to say, like, I didn't have a standard of beauty that was uniformed. It was because I had certain kind of weird, I just different kind of behavior that caught the eye to a male in a certain way. Like a boy liked that I tilted my head when I laughed or giggled. You know what I mean? Like those are the things that girls don't realize that they have, and nothing can replicate an original. They're so beautiful and they don't know it. And they want to be something that is artificial and male-like. And that's another thing, taking away feminism, female behavior and making it like cosplayable, like make it into something else that it's not.
Yeah, totally. And again, another really huge subject. I have daughters as well, and I
Oh,
I see their natural beauty, and I'm like, you don't need anything else. You just need to roll with what God gave you. But what
it's
happens,
perfect. It's perfect though. That's the
exactly.
thing. They don't realize it's the social engineering. And because of, what I really like to do when my girls were really little, but they kind of were in that cusp, but I just avoided using technology and just stayed outdoors all the time. I'm really back in the days, that's what we did. I played in the
Yeah,
dirt, dust, the sand. What happened to the sand, the dirty sand? My mother used to get so upset. So the sand, remember the sand things we used to have in the backyard? What do you call it? Sand, the sand pits. We used to have like sand things where we used to
sandbox. Yeah,
sand boxes. They don't sell that anymore because sand is salt and salt clears demons off. That's another conversation. They don't have sand because a lot
interesting.
of possession is happening. We should do another show on possession and the
Yes,
technology allowing people to be hosted and mounted way easier because the electromagnetic frequency is altering the auric field, making them more permissible for infestation and also alteration and possession. That's a problem. The
totally.
sandboxes was a counter to that. And that's why you don't see it anymore because sand and salt in the Caribbean, when someone is sick or someone's possessed, you know where they take them? To the ocean and they dip them in. That's that whole concept of baptizing people. People don't realize it's been taken away from what it was. It was literally an exorcism. Salt diminishes any sort of imprint or artificial compound on a person. So when someone's mounted, they would take them to the ocean and put them in, all head down, all in, and nothing that was lower frequency could survive that kind of immersing. Anyway,
Right. I 100% agree. And actually, salt is a very key secret in a lot of these rituals and its healing properties and its ability to break the cords that you're describing, which demons and whatever let's just call them non-physical beings,
yes.
parasites at a layer you can't see yet exists,
Hmm.
form their attachment and you can wipe that. However, if you go back to the same behaviors, it can reattach. So if you go back,
Exactly.
it can reattach, but it is a cleanse and a good way to like wipe the script. And
Absolutely.
and for me, being sensitive and being around a lot of people, one of the things I would have to do when I get home from big groups, I would have to shower and I'd have to do my qigong with the water. And you
Yes.
go down in the
Yes.
water and you're just clearing everything off
Yeah.
you, and it's not simply washing your body, it's clearing your energy.
I agree.
Because people don't know how their brain works and they don't even know that they put energy cords into you. And if you don't have a biofield that can clean that off, they literally suck energy from you or send energy or charge things. But
Absolutely.
You know, it's just the way it is now. So
And with our
with
cell phones on our
technology,
body, don't you think it alters our electromagnetic field? Naturally,
totally
every time we have our cell phone, like even I have all the mitigators. I have all the, like I have the EMP phone case, I have the mitigators on my phone. I keep all the mitigators on me. Even with that, it does alter your natural biosphere. So
totally
having this constantly on our body, on us, carrying our phones all the time, that's a form of like uh
dampening.
yeah,
It's dampening and altering your field. And
yeah.
you'll notice it in the heart field. So the heart is affected by having it on your body, you know,
Yes.
so that's, and I'm sure there's ways that the right frequencies can be selected, but they're not. You know, I'm sure there's less harmful ways to rock a cell phone that don't mess with our energy as they do, but that's the world we live in.
Yeah. So we have
And
to do it ourselves, but we can do it.
yeah,
We've I mean that the mitigators do work. I mean, if we and we
yeah.
just have to be mindful of it. Like if I know that I'm going to have a dirty frequency around, I have to consciously create mitigators or get great or gain some or get a mitigator that will kind of like just lessen it or make it less hostile towards my
Mhm.
frequency. We could do that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no,
why we're
there's
having this
definitely things that
conversation.
alter it and absorb it. And it seems that shungite's one of those things when you have
Yeah.
three different pieces of it, it
Yeah.
seems to attract those frequencies away from you.
Hmm.
So, you know, there's like, I would love to be able to study those professionally and see exactly how that works, to understand it better,
Absolutely.
to be able to describe the mechanism for how it works. But yeah, shungite and there's other products that seem to work. I don't know that they all do. And I definitely, you know, would rather try something than have nothing.
I
Uh,
agree. I
but
agree. It helps. Yeah.
yeah,
And
exactly.
also having like harmonic frequency clothing, linen, wool, organic cotton. We have girls, our girls have their eggs, their organs inside, and it's very important for us to protect our grandchildren because inside of our daughters, they carry our lineage. And it's important for them and us to create harmonic frequencies with our clothing by placing the clothing on us that also helps to mute and disallow for our bodies to go totally like like static because of like rayon or polyester or mixed fabrics that really disturb the frequencies as well.
There was a period where I was going through kind of like a whole body awakening, and I became more aware of what fabrics and belts and such and watches even were doing on my
Yes.
body. And I started to realize that when I wore those artificial fabrics, it almost made me less patient because there was a
Ooh.
latent irritation in me that was stimulated, but it's because my body was uncomfortable. So I was getting these signals of irritation, and it's coming from nowhere. It was my clothing. So people, I don't think they really are in tune with themselves or understand. And this goes for stuff and blankets you put on your bed. This
Yes,
goes for anything that's touching your skin. It's all the above. Linen makes my body happy. That's what I
it
like the
does.
best. I love linen. I have linen
It's
pants on
crazy
right
because
now.
like when you go on the boats, like a lot of times in the Caribbean, you see like when they have these boat shows or so on, everyone wore linen or they go to church. I'm not a churchgoer, but you would always see them wear like really nice linen, or you go on vacation, the guys, the gentlemen, I love like the light blue linen shirts, the collared shirts,
Yes.
and they look so peaceful and harmonic. You know what I mean? Like even looking visually, seeing someone who's wearing it, it brings harmony to you. So it not only just affects the person wearing it, it also it kind of impedes on the conceptual reality that you pull in with somebody else's frequency. So I love linen. Linen is so harmonic, especially the flax linen, the French flax linen. It's really nice. That's why they make it so expensive too. They make it, I always tell young ladies, buy the fabric. If you still sew like your grannies did, your mom did, there's nothing wrong with getting the sewing machine out and going back to some of those, those throwback behaviors that we used to have and sew your clothing, make some things yourself, make some originals and not try to sell it to everybody. So you wear something that you originally made for you or your children.
And remember that linen shrinks if you dry it. So that's what
You got to hang it
if
outside.
you buy it cheap from Asia, they have
Oh,
different body
stop it.
shapes. So
And
buy 3 sizes too big because you're gonna shrink it.
but
It's
you know
gonna be many
what?
occasions.
That whole thing with Temu and those Temu, what's the other one? I forgot the other company, these Chinese companies. What's interesting is that their young people are going to them because they can buy things so cheap, but all the fabric is non-harmonic. It's all polyester and rayon and a host of mixed frequency fabrics. And all these young people, Temu is used like it's like a hauling kind of site. And I always say if you're shopping at that, don't buy the clothing. And also Temu is a spying thing. When you put it on your phone, it basically harvests all your information on your phone. That's why they make it so cheap. So you put the application on your phone so it can harvest all your data. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, look, it's being done by every platform. As of 2015, Facebook said the same thing, that we can activate the camera, the microphone, record people in proximity,
Yeah,
use it for marketing purposes, and anything we so see fit. Wow.
crazy. It's
So
crazy, right?
we're all
Yeah,
doing it, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah. I
question
guess.
is, who's projecting those from the phone into your brain while you're sleeping? That's what we got to ask now. That
Well,
shit's
you shouldn't be
years
sleeping
ago.
with the phone. That's the problem. Like it's not the radiation from the plug that you get because my radiation tester, every time you go towards the outlet, it goes bonkers. And then when you have it, my phone could be harmonic, and as soon as I put the radiation tester on it when it's plugged in, it goes like supernova. So a lot of people are sleeping with plugged in phones as well.
And that's all your wireless should be off at night. And especially your head should not be anywhere near the charged wires in your walls. It's not just the wireless, but the dirty electricity that comes from the standard power cables, because
Yes.
it goes through the AC to DC conversion and it's put back on the AC current, very spiky, what they call dirty electricity. So that actually is an easy one to solve. You could pull your bed off the wall like a foot,
That's right.
and then your head's out of that field and it drops off right quick. So but
Yeah.
definitely a lot of people are not getting to a state where they're healing at night, and they're experiencing all kinds of health issues and inflammation and
Sure.
disease and
Sure.
problem with sleeping pattern. Then they try to take different drugs or even supplements
Oh,
to help their sleeping, when it's just like your body's trying to tell you something. And that's what people need to start listening to. You need to start listening to your body.
sure.
You need to start reconnecting those severed body, heart, mind, soul connections, because that's what we need to put back together on our side, because they're putting together their AI frequency,
That's right.
rather their AI Frankenstein. We have to put together our spiritual selves again. And this battle is going to start with each and every one of us that actually works on ourselves and follows that up with action in the world. So
I
once you get to
agree.
a point where you're somewhat whole as a person and not fractured and traumatized, you will have the wits about you to align your will with the divine will and get your mission and then go about doing it. Because what we're going to see now is, over this period of 2026, which is coming up around the corner.
Yeah.
Last year, I did a lot of predictions of what is happening. It's
Yeah.
happening. And the last thing that I will see as the year unfolds, that robots are rolling out this year. So the Android robots are rolling out this year. And I just saw a few days ago Unitree with hundreds of thousands of bots that are ready to roll out. So by the end of this year, I was under the impression and the idea that their bots were rolling out in 2025. So that means they will start to be seen as commonplace. They've been built, the units are ready. It's now just rollout time. And they
Wow.
have bots that are very light and cheap that cost you like $3,000. And they have expensive, heavier duty ones that are $70,000. They have the ability to recursively learn. They have the ability, there's some very interesting ones. One is called Wow, it's Chinese, and it's it's world modeling. But what it does is it self-learns. So I think, can I take 2 seconds, Fleur, and just explain how some of
Yes,
this works?
please.
I think it's very important. So what we've seen thus far is we've seen very kind of clumsy C3PO type of robots, but we've seen now the war dogs and the different bots that are doing kung fu and actually looking somewhat more capable. So what I'm going to talk about now is NVIDIA's Omniverse, and there's different companies with different products that are all doing the same kind of thing. So the Omniverse allows you to create simulated environments like real world sims with the rules of physics. So it's like the what do you call it? The danger room in X-Men, or the holodeck in
Star
Star
Trek.
Trek type
Yeah.
of thing. So you can create these self-contained realities in the Omniverse, and you can create digital twins and mirror everything in the physical world. And you could model things out and train these bots in that environment. So the speed that they can train these bots, they can give it 1,000 years of training overnight. I'm just using that as a number. I forget what the actual number was, but something equally
Yeah.
shocking. So they train these bots on these models, and they have the ability to self-learn and to tweak their own performance. So all these components are being put together. Then you have NVIDIA Cosmos, where you can literally create all of these simulated realities. So you can, for example, you could simulate experiments. If you make a new kind of hot air balloon, you could actually create a world sim of flying that air balloon, and then you can get all those data points without having to do it in reality. So you could make changes to it, and you could see how it affects the aerodynamics. So instead of experimenting with a new hot air balloon, you could roll out a new hot air balloon that's been tested, and it's the sleekest and best, most tested kind of.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not denying that you would still want to back it up at this point in the real world, but what you're doing is you're going with something you're already pretty darn sure is going to work, and you're testing that. You're not going through the iteration process of trying 50 million different kinds to get the best result.
Yeah.
So that's why this is very, easy to sell. And they're creating like an entire parallel reality in this Omniverse where they can have basically computer emergency response teams used to be made up of people. Well, now they're creating agentic AI type of roles. So you could have your robot architect, you could have your robot incident response handling bot, you can have your robot cop, and it's loaded with all its capabilities. And yeah, so that's what's going to be rolling out. Now, these robots are all connected, of course, wirelessly. So not only can they have local abilities to sim something, but if they come across something that's too complex, they can upload that to the Omniverse, have much
Wow.
more processing power, figure out the problem, and then download the solution to the tentacle, the bot that's, the end of the tentacle, if you will.
Yeah.
So it can utilize both local and non-local and centralized processing to learn and do things. So people they don't get it yet. They don't understand what this means. And we're still thinking, and all of these, what we've seen is all the tech pros and all these people, they all lie to you and tell you that AGI is far away, 2027, 20 whatever, and ASI is far away. All those things are lies. We've already surpassed AGI. We're now getting robots that have more freedom of movement than we do. So ours is something like 27%, and they're getting in the 30s. So they're more flexible, they're getting more capable, they can learn faster, and they're deploying all of the monitoring technology into the Internet of Industrial Things and everybody's workplace to learn what your behaviors are as an employee and feed that into the Internet of Behaviors. So once we have a behavior of filing files or mopping the floor, that behavior is now cataloged in that Internet of Behaviors and is available to roll out in all of the different constructs, and they can share that. So once it learns to mop the floor, it never has to learn to mop the floor again. And it'll learn to mop the floor in innovative and new ways that you can't even envision and your imagination can't even comprehend. So this is what they're hiding, and they're hiding the level of development that this entire system is at, because they're hoping to ambush us with all of this technology at a point where we can't do anything about it. So that's why it's so imperative at this time for people to activate, to self-actualize, to introspect, to connect themselves back to God, to connect to their souls, to download their mission, and to do what we're here to do. Because all of us that do feel a sense of purpose and duty, you know it. You know if I'm talking to you or not. If you're a flatliner, you're not watching this anyway. So the fact that you're listening to me right now is probably an indicator that you're active and you need to push your agenda, whatever that is, personally ahead faster.
I agree.
Because it's coming at us at a speed in ways that they're not ready for.
And should we be frightened of like criminal behavior? Because just like the technology comes out, the criminals are also going to use it to do nefarious things. They no longer have to go in stores and rob stores, or, if they get their hands on it, what happens then,
So, just to understand crime is allowed to happen because it's like the oil for the machine. If they wanted to shut down crime tomorrow, it would happen instantaneously. And when they do roll out the AI control grid, there will be no crime. Everything will be trackable, identifiable, and prosecutable. So that world of the wild, wild west, where people are capable of going out and robbing something and getting back home untracked, untagged, and unknown is not possible. It's not possible. So when that actually rolls out, all of that will end because it is no longer in the service to the system. Right now, crime is service to the system. It creates fear, chaos that's used against us, and it makes normal people give up their freedoms for hopes of security and give up,
That's
more
right.
importantly, their tax. So everybody pays because they want to be kept safe. Well, that's mafia Gestapo tactics. This is no
Exactly.
different than gangland. It's nothing but government gangsters. They know that they can scare you into shaking you down for 90% of your money and leave you 10% to go and eat your McDonald's and maybe, you know, go to a movie now and then, but all of it goes back to them. They use crime at the base level. That's why crime will never go away, because it is completely allowed to exist by them. So, and it helps them conceal their black ops, you know, revenue streams.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, crime is the easiest thing in the world to fix if you know how it works and you know who's doing it. We could fix
Yes.
crime. But you know what? Let's make sure there's no lack and there's abundance so people don't feel the need to commit crime.
Thank
And
you.
then once
Thank
there's
you.
abundance and people aren't starving and they're not led into positions of desperation and fall through the cracks living on the street, of course, if you were living on the street and you were hungry, you would commit crime to eat. We've forgotten this. All of the homeless and the people at the bottom, they're also sparks of the divine. So we should respect and treat them properly, but not facilitate their own destruction. So giving a crackhead $5 to buy crack maybe is not a good solution. But providing the resources and infrastructure to help get people from zeros back to heroes, that's a worthy task that I'm willing
I
to
agree.
put some
I
time
agree.
into. But what we're seeing is the states like, I believe it's Utah, creating forced labor camps for the homeless after they've impoverished everybody through fiat currency, toilet paper, you know, debt scams. Now everything's
True.
owned by BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street. And
Yeah.
now if you end up homeless, you'll be in a camp and you're going to be forced to work for the state until, of course, you no longer are an asset on the books as a slave to the state, at which point you become a liability. And what do systems do with liabilities?
Sure.
What do they do with liabilities?
They get rid of it. They'll put it into the
Harvest
food
it.
system, as bone broth or, McDonald's.
There you
And
go, Soylent Green. You're on the menu, buddy.
so I'm
You
trying to
want some hobo
trying to
burger?
shed some
You
weight so
got
that
hobo
I don't feed the
nuggets?
whole family. Trying to
Yeah,
make us digestible. It's true. It's remember Cloud Atlas? I don't know if you watched it. Cloud Atlas
I
with
did.
Tom Hanks was in it. And it was one of the movies I remember. I just had my daughter. I couldn't go to movies. I stayed indoors for a while when I had her, and I was dying to see this movie. Cloud Atlas is wonderful. It talks about like the reincarnation and how our actions in each life kind of develop the life that we come in next. And it's so good because it speaks to like them saying like these girls were working, Asian girls were working in a restaurant and just thinking that, one day they could get free, and they have this lottery where they feel like they're going to go and go somewhere special after they're done. And basically they were just recycling their workers and eating them. So they were the product as well as the workers. It's really quite the world we live in. You would think they're making these things up. No, it's a biography of sorts. You
It's
know
a
what I mean?
metaphor for what's happening. And all
Yeah.
the stars know it because they get sacrificed and harvested in the end too.
Oh, they do.
So they're
They
allowed to reap the rewards and live high on the hog. And then when it's time for them to die at age 33 or whatever
Mhm.
age it is,
Yeah,
for, whatever reason, that definitely
absolutely.
happens to them. So they know once they sign that contract, their soul is
It's a
sold.
wrap. Yeah.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.
Your fate is sealed,
It's
you
sad.
know.
Well, Ryan, I want you to talk about also I listen, we could talk all day. I think we could do like 10 hours, like really good time.
Marathon.
We could, but I want to, respect your time. I want you to kind of talk about what you're doing. Also, you're also raising money for a specific reason. I want to talk about that. I already put the link inside of the chat. I want you to talk about what you're doing in the future, the wonderful things. And also, everyone, just take a look at Ryan's website, go to him. He's wonderful, a plethora of knowledge, not only knowledge and information, but help and resources. So definitely go into what you're doing in the future, Ryan. Let us know what you're doing and your fundraiser and what you're raising money for.
So first of all, my website, ryanvelli.com, is down right now for reasons I can't disclose at the moment, but will
That's
be
okay.
back up by 2026. So
Yes.
2026, January, I will be more raising my profile. I've been somewhat encouraged by some of the activities and revelations of a lot of the masses, and I think that there are some important thresholds that have been met. And I think enough people now realize that we're at a point where action is required, and so is cooperation. So I am cooperating with the group. We are producing a pilot show that we're hoping to use to alter the culture, create a network of like-minded people, and it's called Disclosure Force. And it's half-heartedly joking, and it's modeled after, you know, the A-Team from the 80s, but focused on pushing disclosure ahead. And it involves Brett Luter, who's an investigative journalist, Hans Dietrich, who's a wonderful author and is very well traveled, Alan Bedian, who's a wonderful health researcher and is very brilliant with artificial intelligence and many other areas. And then Melissa Morton, who is Sean David Morton's widow, who's a lovely person and is working with us as well to produce
Beautiful.
a lot of this. So
Yeah.
we are going to start filming in March of 2026. And we are going to put the call out to anybody who has whistleblowers information. Specifically, we're interested in history, ancient history, and a lot of the concealed items that maybe some researchers feel are less flashy or interesting, but are nonetheless really important to show that our historical record has been a fraud. And researchers like Michael Cremo and Graham Hancock have demonstrated that very well. But there's many modern researchers and even content producers that are highlighting a lot of these ridiculous beliefs that we have, including Robert Seffer, even My Lunch Break, the Y Files, Mind Unveiled. These are all excellent. And although I don't agree with everybody all the time about everything, I always have little things we don't see the same on. But as a good place to start, those are the types of organizations and content that we're going to be talking about, as well as the alien presence and the non-human presence on this planet, which now we've had last year. We have government accepted statements about UFOs. So whether these are alien piloted or human piloted, we need to get to the bottom of it. Absolutely. And humanity is only going to progress when humanity gets the information it requires to evolve. So we are working on that aspect to get more information in a more entertaining and effective way than we have thus far seen, in a format that is digestible for a more mass audience, where it doesn't have to be, you know, because, you know, we're very specific. We like the alien stuff. We'll watch a certain level of production, but we need to get to a production level where more people who are less informed are entertained and informed by our content. So this is what we're aiming to do. And okay, so it's Disclosure Force. There's a GoFundMe page. I put the link there. Yes. And there's no donations yet. We're launching it literally now. This is the launch. Dell. So, you know, that's what we're launching. So that is for us, and on a personal note, encouraging, and we're having a lot of success, and we're going to make sure that we have some real very deep content and some very interesting people. So that's what I'm working on, and that you'll hear more on that. But we we have studio execs that are willing to shop it around, and everybody wants to see it, but we need to get the pilot done first. So that's what we got to get done in front of us. And there are costs and things associated. That's why we, of course, set up the GoFundMe. We're all putting some of our own money in, obviously. This is like a group. It's nothing that can be hijacked. It's distributed in decision-making power, so we're all in it together. There's not like one person that could be bought off or threatened that's going to take it down. And what we want to do is we want to stimulate a buzz in this community and create a community around the show and the movement, which is disclosure. Whether it's through our show, whether it's through Carrie Cassidy, whether it's through, we don't care. We just need the people to get smart and to become aware of all of the lies and corruption that has beset our planet and has led us to this point where we're literally facing our annihilation due to our ignorance. So let's fix that. So on that side, I'm very, very happy. And then just I've been, testing the Tesla Club plasma machine with great results. When I started it, again, I had an accident. My shoulder, hip, and my elbow are all fixed. I had an eye infection the other day, and I have bunnies, Delv. And so what happened was they kicked some shit water into my eye.
Oh,
So it
that's
happened.
terrible.
So
I
I
had
wake
bunnies.
up and I have this like George Soros eye, and I was like, oh my
Really?
God, what the hell? And it's like, because I felt it coming on, but then it hit full steam. So I
Yeah.
used it on it. Swelling went a bit down, but I still had it. Used it again that night. Woke up, it actually felt not great. Then I used it again, it was gone. By evening and the next morning, it was gone.
Oh my God.
So I can tell you that that plasma, okay, conjunctivitis is not something that's usually treatable just with nothing. Usually
No,
you have
you
to do
need some
eye
sort of
drops,
antibiotic
okay?
ointment. Yeah.
Exactly. It took it away. I've used it
This
on
is
toenail
incredible.
fungus and it has results. It is clearing up areas, but I think it has to be really in contact. So I'm going to try with plasma water at some point. Uh,
Yes.
but it is definitely working on several areas, and I think it's also affecting my endurance. So I'm going to get a little more serious with my training regime, and I'm going to see if
Yes.
I can push myself using plasma and see how that results. But
I'm
now I'm
excited.
confident that it hasn't done anything bad to me. It hasn't harmed me. It hasn't given me cancer. I don't have a third eye. Well, I do have a
You
third
do
eye.
have a third
It
eye.
has nothing to do with the plasma, though. So that's just an update on that. So I'm
This is
very pleased with
great.
that. And I know there's a lot of companies that put up plasma. I just know the Tesla Club guys and that they believe in their product. And that's what I have, and that's what's been successful. So
Okay.
I highly support that. It's Tesla.club for those that are interested.
Okay.
Then again, George Wiseman, Eagle Research, and hydrogen water, tremendous. Okay, this is
Hydrogen ward is
something that
awesome. Yeah.
you can't poison it. You can't. It's simple. It puts hydrogen in your body. It allows you to detox and heal things up. Okay,
Yeah.
great stuff.
Yes.
Um, and then in terms of just what's going on in people, I, Fleur, I do the Truth Addicts Anonymous. I've had to step back for several months because of things going on in my life, but I will start that up again. If you're interested in that, you can reach me at info@ryanvelli.com, and I'll set one up as soon as possible. Hopefully this Sunday, but I'm traveling, so I'll know later this week on that.
Okay.
But it is a place where people can go who are waking up and who feel isolated and alone to get some kind of comfort and understanding from people who have a similar mindset and understanding of reality. That doesn't mean we agree on everything. It's not religious, it's not gender, it's not a cult, it's none of the above. It's simply a support group for people who are struggling to deal with this reality that's unfolding around them and have nobody to talk to feel sane with all of this insanity going around us. So I do that, and I think a lot of people get a lot from it. There's been a lot of people that show, and if that sounds like you, just contact me and I'll put you on the list. And the very next one, I will let you know.
And I
And
put
then,
the link in there for everyone. I pinned the link for that as well in the
okay,
link. So you have the contact for
great.
Ryan if you want to join the group. And I think it's positive. A lot of people are going through this change, and to have a support system to kind of help them walk through it with those who are a little more sound in this awareness, it's helpful.
That's what I found. And definitely people can feel very isolated, and I don't think that's an accident. I think it's almost like we're scattered across the planet, evenly distributed, and we're
Oh no, I
all
think
alone.
so. Don't you
It's
feel like
like,
that?
it
Like
does
it's
feel like
yeah,
that.
it does feel like each one of us, none of us are living next to each other, which I think is odd. Like
So
you would
this is
think that more
what
of us would be concentrated. It's not like that.
It's not like that, because I think that we have a resonance and a frequency that has to stimulate the whole. But what we do have to do is we do have to group up. We do need to bring
Oh,
people
it's
together
necessary now.
and
Yeah.
build alternate systems now. We need to decentralize everything. This idea of central control and slave masters and billionaire demonic pedos, that's all got to go. That's the last stage.
Sure.
We can't bring that toxicity, that wickedness into the new age.
No.
We can't do it.
But make sure you vet, Ryan, because what I notice is that a particular country, we won't say who, I call them the Daros, they're sending out minions into each of the different groups to try to cause dissension. You know, they just infiltrated my Telegram group and was sending cocaine advertisements to everyone in my group. They're very sly like that. So
Yes.
vettable, it's very important to vet as well. It's much.
So as we become more aware, we need to see them for what they are. So
Sure.
right now they're able to hide and their techniques may be somewhat still effective, but
Yeah.
sooner rather than later, people are going to see them from what they are and will isolate them. So if they try to infect and what do you call it? Corrupt, infiltrate, then
Yes.
we're just going to see them for what they are. And we
Sure.
all need to be looking. And the key is not to have central points of control. We have to be decentralized. And
I agree.
if one is gone, then somebody needs to, you know, replace them in that position and just keep rolling. But soon as you set up a hierarchy, what happens is they take out the top. They corrupt from the top.
They do. They do.
They infiltrate from the bottom. They infect up. You have to know how it works. And when you do, you could build structures that are more like human biology, like energetic dynamos or cells or suns that produce energy and do some positive function and are not in an easily controllable container. They love easily controllable containers.
They do.
And we put ourselves into those containers because we feel the need to belong and the need to worship. So we're always looking for who's at the top of the structure.
Idolatry.
And we're always like, it's completely not what we're here to learn. We're here to learn how to connect back to God and rely on our own judgment. And they tell you everything that's opposite. So they tell you, no, you have to rely on my better judgment and this expert and this. And it's not to say that there aren't experts in fields. There totally are. When I don't want to know about plumbing, I talk to a plumber for sure. But, you know, we just need to take back our trusts and really be fact-based and not belief and trust-based, because that's
and
going
we need to start meeting in physical, because I think a lot of us, even though we have a lot of digital communities, which I do, you do, but I feel like that's what before, you know, 2020 was doing a lot of meet and greet. I think it's necessary. Like physical contact is part of what makes us human. Like sitting with each other, eating with each other, talking to each other, smelling each other, like that is part of who we are. So I feel like we're going to have to take our digital communities and really expound that to becoming more, you know, like sitting and chilling with people and meeting and really starting to take back our commune, like the way that we commune.
Grounding in reality. We're bringing that energy that started in cyberspace and we're bringing it into real action and human to human contact, which is another thing they tried to crush in us in 2020.
They did a good job. They did a good job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But they also showed themselves and they showed their hand. They showed what they're doing.
Yes, they did.
So now to deny it, you're denying the obvious to yourself. You're the only one that thinks you know what you're talking about. If you don't understand, it's really obvious. And if you can't see it, you're deliberately not trying to see it. You're trying not to see it.
You're letting a blind eye purposefully. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank Ryan again for coming on, for lending us his amazing expertise in the diabolicalness of the AI system, which is literally trying to infest all of our gateways of interaction. But we have a choice, and we always had a choice. You know, it's like the concept I was talking about, you know, the Wizard of Oz yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yesterday. I was saying, you know, at the end, it all came back to, well, you could always go home. You know what I mean? Dorothy could always go home. She was going through aspects of herself by the projections of who she was through these characters. But at the end, it was always her choice. And we must know that. Like, even if they make it seem like they have choice or reign over us, I disagree. I think we have the ultimate choice and we have to know that and we have to own that.
And it's not an accident they want us to choose their way. They want our free will decision to do it their way. And that's under any circumstance what we have to stop. We can't give them our consent. Don't consent. Don't comply. Otherwise, We're
Remember,
not
the
in
vampire
Texas.
can't come to your house, Ryan, unless you give him permission to get in. And
Right.
we already know, take those welcome mats off your front door. Don't let the vampires in, because you know they're vampiric too. They're very,
Yes,
pirates of energy,
yes, indeed.
bastards. Well, Ryan, any last words before we go? And I want everyone to thank Ryan. Please put a like on the video. Please contact Ryan. He's been amazing. He comes here. He brings us so much information. Please, give him a thumbs up and definitely go over to his neck of the woods and support him. We got to support conscious. I talk about the patriarchy sometimes, very diabolical ways, Ryan, but it's so nice when you come on and you show a little bit of a difference of what's out here right now. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you. That's very kind, Fleur, and thank you and your audience for having me on and being patient and listening. And I hope I was able to convince some people to self-reflect, connect to God, and to get into action, because that's what the world needs. So 2026 is a bifurcation year. The split is going to intensify, and it will be very clear which side we're each on. So pick the right side, pick Team
Yeah.
Humanity, not Team Satan.
Yeah.
God bless, and thank you all.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming in, and peace. See you next time.